And welcome back to Long Crime, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us here on the Morning Docket. We're joined also right now by forensic psychiatrist Dr. Ziv Cohen. Dr. Cohen, it's great to have you here because I want to ask you your opinion. So Christian Bahena Rivera takes the stand. He tells this story that he was abducted, that he was forced, by gunpoint, by knife point, to basically help these people dispose of the body of Mollie Tibbetts. If that is true, and he said he didn't want to tell police, he was nervous, he was worried about his family was threatened, he lies to investigators, and now all of a sudden he comes forward and says this. Does this make sense that a human being would do this, that a person in his position would have done this?
So I think, a person, under threat to their life can do a variety of things. And it's certainly well known, there are syndromes like Stockholm syndrome, where essentially you identify with the aggressor and you may even, want to carry out crimes just because you become convinced that this person is doing the right thing. So, anything is possible. But I think that when you look at, sexual murders, it's unusual for the murderer to find a bystander and force the bystander to dispose of a body. That's not a common pattern that you see in criminology or in forensic psychiatry. So I think that that is something that probably will lead to some skepticism in people listening to Mr. Bahena Rivera.
Well, Dr. Cohen, let me follow up on this for a second, okay? Because does it make sense to you that someone would randomly target Mollie Tibbetts, like Christian Bahena Rivera, and murder her, out of nowhere, when he really didn't seem to have that kind of history from people who talked about him? This is a guy who is a legal immigrant. The idea, you flip it, does that make sense to you that he would be in this position and murder her?
So certainly, you'd have a stronger argument if you had some past criminal history, if you had some past sexual offense, of course. And I don't think that the facts are clear. That's what the jury needs to do, hear all the evidence. But I think that sexual offenses like this, sexual murderers, there is always a first victim. There is always an
Yep.
index victim, and so it's by no means universal that you're going to have a guilty party that has a previous offense. So I think often these are crimes of opportunity.
Hmm.
And, clearly somebody felt they had an opportunity when Mollie Tibbetts went on that isolated jog. And the question really is whether it's Mr. Bahena Rivera, but I don't think you necessarily have to have a prior record
Sure.
to be a convincing defendant.
A lot of questions that we still have in this case, and we're waiting for the closing arguments where we might get some answers to those questions. So stay with us here on Long Crime. We're waiting to jump back live in Iowa. A lot more to cover.